Yeah.
And actually, so Janet should be here in a minute. No, actually, we're. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay in getting started. We were hoping everyone's stuck in traffic, but on their way. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to get our special meeting started, I appreciate it. All right, I can do the roll call. Westover? Here. Engstrom? Here. Dockett? Here. Brunn? Here. Chick, running late with notice. Otto, running late with notice. Thomas, absent with notice. Absent with notice, thank you. Okay, Thomas. Tracy. All right. It takes us time to adopt the balance of the agenda. Any additions or deletions? Turn your mic up.
You guys can't have additions.
Oh, that's what we were just at?
He said, I'm sorry, let me clarify. You have to have all of the elected officials vote in everybody has to be here and it has to be unanimous. So not everybody's here, so you wouldn't be able to add anything.
Okay. Did you hear, Wayne, we can talk about your item under our category 1, but we cannot add it as in it.
I'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, we will. Okay. So I'll make a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda. Engstrom motioned, Westover supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. This is a first call to the public, opportunity for anyone to get up and share your thoughts with us. We do remind you this is not a question and answer session, just an opportunity to talk, and we do limit you to 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers right now? We do have a second call to the public after our meeting. And we have our first speaker.
It's not on.
I'm sorry.
That's better. Thank you. David Gordon, Helena Road. This is the second special meeting called in a week regarding apparently the purchase of 2 parcels of property, one of which has lakefront property called the Van Curler property. Both had, I assume, the 18-hour minimum notice, although the first meeting was a closed meeting, so until 2 hours before I wasn't aware that it was even happening or that we could participate. I read the transcript of the first meeting, which was then made into an open meeting, and it seemed to me after reading it that it was the kind of meeting you might have wanted to have closed because you were discussing how much money you were going to offer for the property, how much money you were going to offer for the option. There was a discussion of how much you would go to pay for the option. That's the kind of thing you probably wouldn't want the guy that you're going to negotiate with knowing beforehand. Just an idea. I am not opposed to the idea of a park on the lake. I mean, I've always thought it's a good idea for years and years, but it's just me. That's just my opinion. What I'd ask this board to do is ask the people what they want. Maybe send out a postcard. You have to send out a postcard if you're going to borrow more than $250,000. Maybe you should send one out before you spend $350,000. I'd also ask you to do your due diligence, such as, finding out whether the property that you're talking about in the water is all mucky or whether it could actually be beachfront. I've reviewed
329, sir. 329.5.
329.
Yeah, not 350.
329,000. Okay, it's more than 250,000. I reviewed the Parks and Rec master plan that you just adopted. It's a good plan, but it raises more questions than it does provide answers in terms of a lakefront parcel. So my major question is, where is the plan? I mean, granted, this might be a bargain parcel, but I didn't see any evidence of that at the meeting. I don't know if the price is a good price or not a good price. I don't know where your real estate expert is that's helping you out with this. If it's such a good deal, maybe you should make an offer for the whole 27 acres. But if the prices actually drop, maybe it's a really good deal and a developer will walk in and put something up there that we can control with our zoning and get what we want without taking the risk of spending taxpayer dollars. Some other questions I have: if the township buys the property, what does that do to the parcels on both sides of it? Does it make it less attractive for development? Is it a good thing? What's the plan? What's the whole plan? I don't see one yet. And putting the cart before the horse seems to be a bad habit in this community. I'd like to see this not be done here. It's cost us a lot of money. It continues to cost us a lot of money, and the residents are really sick of that. So that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Randy Rush, 9672 Main Street. We live pretty close to this, so it does affect us considerably more than some other people. Just a general statement, I'd like to really applaud you guys for taking the initiative and moving ahead on something. I've been there for 21 years and nothing's happened with that property, so it'd be nice to move forward. I don't know what all your plans are. I don't know what the future brings, but to me this is a very positive step for the township that we've got people taking the initiative, stepping out, making some positive changes that will attract other people potentially to the community. So I withhold judgment, but coming right out of the chute right now, I'm very encouraged by the fact that you're taking this step, or maybe you're not taking it, but I'm here to encourage you to move ahead and step out. And we did get as specific as possible in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I happened to write that section, so without knowing where it was going to go exactly, we got pretty specific about things to talk about and plan in the future. So keep up the good work. I'm here to support you. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? All right. Oh, come on up.
Hi, Tim Seville, 7705 Whitmore Lake Road. I'm here to support you purchasing the property. It'd be nice to see a park on the lake. One of the things is that there's plenty of communities out there that have taken the bull by the horns and sit here instead of waiting for the developers to do something in this community. How about if we do something ourselves, and then later on we could take this property, figure out what we want to do with it, and then sell off the portions that we don't need for future development, and then that way we get to pick what we want to do instead of waiting for some developer, like Randy said, for 20 years and sit back and wait for something else to happen. Maybe it's not, maybe they're sitting on it for someone else to come along and do something, and now we get to do something ourselves, and I'd like to see us move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we had another speaker. Yep. Come on up.
Hi, Jennifer Delisle, 7441 Spencer Road. I'm on the Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm all for parks. I hope this is for a park. I don't even know if that's the case because obviously I'm speaking before you guys talk about stuff. But there's a real ick factor to doing special meetings with very little notice and a good part of the board not even here. A big ick factor. It looks clandestine. It looks like things aren't planned out. It looks like maybe people are moving really fast without thinking first or wanting to take the opportunity to think. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. That takes us on to any board member comments at this point. Go ahead, Wayne.
I was not notified of this meeting until 9:30 this morning, and I'm on the board. And I knew nothing about it. And when I asked Howard about it, he said that the law says you hang it out here, and at 18 hours you can have a meeting. Well, that may be true, but as a board member, I certainly think, I mean, how do they even know if they're going to have a quorum? We've always called or emailed the board members to find out if they could be here, to have enough people here to have a meeting. So I'm very disappointed, and I go along with too many meetings with no notice to the public. We're spending a lot of money, so thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Correspondence and announcements. Anything right now from anyone? No. Takes us on to our agenda item is to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained. I'll make a motion to go, we need a motion, right, to go into, oh no, we're not going to closed session, sorry. All right.
So let me get us started here, if that's okay. So at the last meeting, the board authorized a full purchase on the 15.3 acres that includes the lakefront piece, and a authorization of up to $100,000 on the 8-acre piece that backs up to Barker. We made that offer. We actually offered $80,000 on the 8-acre piece that backs up to Barker. Van Curlers, at least from their real estate broker, and what the real estate broker told me was that they were receiving some significant interest. They wanted the township to have the property. They thought that that would be most appropriate. But they essentially came back and said, the $80,000 is not acceptable. We countered at 97, and then they came back and countered at 100, and indicated that that was it. They also indicated at that time, as you see in your email, that they would not sell the properties separately, that they've had interest in individuals purchasing both properties at and potentially at full price, and that they would not split them up. So essentially what their counter is that they will accept $229,500 on the lakefront piece with the 15 acres, and $100,000 on the Barker Road property, but the sales agreement, the purchase agreement would have to be tie-barred together. Essentially, it'd be one purchase agreement, and we either close on both properties or we close on no properties. That was what they came back with. That was not originally how they marketed the properties, but that is their directive, as you can see in the emails. So that's the decision. We obviously had the ability to accept the $100,000 offer. We started at 80, we went to 97, and we got to 100, and we have the ability to accept the 100,000, but I did not have authority to accept the offer that the properties be tie-barred together, that we have to close on both or none. And that was not your wishes previously. That's not the way the motion read, and so therefore we are having another meeting, and here we are today. With respect to just one of the issues that was addressed, I think there's a lot of due diligence to do. I think there's a lot of planning to do. If these properties move forward, we'll still ask for the 90-day contingency period, we're unfortunately we're not in a position where we can map everything out and plan everything out and then buy the properties. It's not the way the real estate world works. The properties are up for sale. They have interest in them. I would be doing a disservice, in my opinion, personal opinion, to this community to not bring this in front of the board and say to the board, if you want this and if this is what you desire, and I believe it has been a significant desire of many community residents for many, many years, various elected officials and appointed officials, and we do need to act. It's not to say that that planning and thinking and due diligence is not going to happen. It's to say that it can't literally happen at this moment because we haven't even, we don't even have control of the property. That being said, there's sort of steps. There's first steps, and in order to sort of get to an end goal, you have to take a first step. If that's the board's wishes, that's where we're at.
I just wanted to say that too, that this board has never been about lack of transparency. None of us like these special urgent meetings, but there is a sense of urgency here with this property. I mean, I think I've been here 37 years myself, and we've talked about a park for 4 years. This piece of property is just so right that there's just a sense of urgency, and the Parks and Rec can't have a plan because we didn't even know that the property was available until just a couple weeks ago, and they're doing such a great job. You know, I can't wait to see what they could do with something like this.
And Mr. Dockett is right. I owe Mr. Dockett an apology. I did not get to Mr. Dockett yesterday. I tried to get as many people to confirm if they would be here as possible, and I was trying to make sure that we had a quorum. And I did not get to Mr. Dockett, and for that I apologize. From a legal perspective, both meetings are completely legal meetings. It's not my ethics to call an illegal meeting. But you know, my apologies, Mr. Dockett, for you not getting a call yesterday and you getting the call this morning. Sometimes I know that I see you almost every morning. Sometimes I see Kathy every morning, and so, you know, I don't pick up that phone call all the time. You know, I wait till I see her in person and those kind of things. So, again, that's not an excuse, and but it is a sincere apology. I should have called you yesterday.
Well, I accept the apology, but if I wasn't here, we wouldn't even have the meeting, because there would only be 3 people here. So I don't know how many you contacted, and I don't know if you knew that you had 4 people or not, but well, at least 4. So okay, but I have some questions.
Please go ahead.
I disagree with Howard that that's the way that, and I'm not looking to pick a fight, but it's not the way that the real estate business works. I'm very scary about this. A $2 million piece of property for, I'm not a realtor, but it's at least worth $2 million for $229,000. That's scary. And I'm afraid we'll have, at them prices, we'll have every person in this township who owns commercial property will be at the tax next year trying to get their taxes lowered, because this is an arm's length deal. This is, Howard mentioned something, they want the township to have it. It's listed, anyone can buy it for this price. So I think we might be shooting ourselves in the foot when everybody lines up to get their taxes lowered. That's one part of it. The other part is, I didn't vote for it last time. I will not be supporting it this time unless it's a new deal. It's 2 pieces. We certainly need title insurance. We need an environmental study. We need a survey, and we need our attorney to write the agreement, not their attorney.
We already have, Mr. Dockett. Our attorney has written the agreement, not their attorney, and all of those items.
I've not seen anything. Excuse me, Howard, but I would like to see this.
You know, Mr. Dockett, at some point you got to let staff do their job.
Well,
and
how would I know it? That you even did it? That we didn't. It was not in the agreement when we voted on it. I'd like to hear it in the agreement when we vote on it, that we're gonna have our attorney look, run the thing. We're gonna have a survey. We're gonna have an environmental study.
We already talked about that in the last meeting.
We never talked about it in the agreement. I got a copy of the minutes here, Howard. Don't say anything about it. So I don't know where you talked about it.
Yeah, we have a 90-day due diligence period, and we're going to need to survey it. We talked about a phase 1 and a phase 2. We went over the details.
Remember
of
we
what
talked
the
about the
difference
phase
is.
1 because we were kind of laughing that you are our phase 1.
This is a new deal. They didn't accept that. Now we got 2 pieces, a brand new deal. Is that correct? Is that what we're going to vote on?
It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same contract. But yes, they've now indicated that they won't separate the 2 properties, that they're tie-barring them together.
But we're doing a new deal, so I just want to make sure that we don't hurry ourselves into a deal that sounds too good to be true. $2 million piece of property for $225,000. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's scary. So something, so, you know, how many do they owe taxes on it? You know, is there an environmental problem? I mean, we need to know that. So that's my take on it.
Again, those are all valid questions. Those are things we do need to know. And that's why we have that 90-day due diligence period, and that's why we have the ability to not move forward with the property if we find something that comes up, or if the board decides this is not their vision. Well, you know, ultimately, if we do that, they'll keep the deposit, and I think that with these two properties, the two deposits will have to be tie-barred together. I think the one deposit was $2,000 and the other was $1,000. Is that right? 25 and one, so it'd be a $3,500 deposit. They would keep the $3,500, but I agree. I mean, obviously, we need a due diligence period, and it's just the same way if you buy a house.
And I agree that the 2,500 is, you know, if we don't do it, we lose 2,500. That I agree with. I see no problem with that. But in the agreement here, where it says, what I can't figure out here is it says, sale at this price is absolutely as is. Now, does that mean that we pay for the environmental, that we pay for title insurance? If it is, that's fine with me. It's a $2 million worth of property for 200. So, but let's get that settled. Who pays for the? Ordinarily, and you're in the real estate business. Ordinarily, when you are selling, you pay for the title insurance. That's the only thing you're responsible as the owner. That's what you're responsible for. So I'd like to know what we decide to do about that. So let's not rush into this thing and forget about what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys will, we can email the contract to you.
Yeah, so I'd like to see it.
But we do need, you know, again, we're you know, as a governmental entity, we only can negotiate with the parameters that you provide us, so we're hamstrung in terms of other interested parties. That's the reality of it. I wanted to touch on just a few
My
items.
last word is, before you do, Howard, is we should have meetings here. The taxpayers and residents should have something to say about this. Thank you very much.
I don't disagree. Last thing I wanted to say is some people brought up some issues. One, the muckiness of the property. Two, development potential. You know, this is just my personal opinion. It's not the opinion of the board. We haven't discussed it. We haven't created a plan. I don't think that the township ultimately wants to hold on to 27 acres. I think in some shape or form, this may be land that is incentivized to a developer to revitalize the downtown. Maybe this is, well, certainly some of it's going to be property for a park, a lakefront park. Some of it may be property for parking for the festivals that we have in the downtown. And the rest of it may be a public-private partnership with a person that will develop a downtown or develop in the downtown in the way that we all would like to see. You know, things like traditional downtown development as opposed to strip malls. You know, that's just my thought process. Those are my words, not anybody else's words. Those ideas and plans haven't been formulated yet because we don't have the time to formulate them at this very moment. We probably won't have the time to formulate those plans even in the next 90 days, but ultimately those are things that are possibilities. You know, again, as I said to the board the last time, there was somebody that came into my office with some interest in developing it. I met with him again today. He was maybe slightly less interested today than he was the first time, but he still has some level of interest, and he certainly might be interested in creating a partnership with the township. Maybe we create an RFP and put the RFP out to the development community to see if we can jumpstart some development. So there are all kinds of possibilities. But ultimately, this particular piece of property has been a piece of property that is a foundational piece of property in Whitmore Lake and in Northfield Township. And the success or failure of the development of this area will have an impact on our community for the next 50 to 100 years. And so, in my personal opinion, I think it's certainly a good idea to have a level of control over it for that reason.
It's a tiny, tiny little slice on the water. I'm curious to see that surveyed and see what it is. It's a very, very, very tiny piece.
And the issue with the muckiness, I mean, yeah, we have to call the DNR, and we have to see what the DNR regulations are about having some sand brought in. Can we bring in sand for a beach? Yep. Sure. And it can be done. So we have to investigate all of these opportunities. We have to investigate the safety issues, which Mr. Wagner is concerned about, of a beachfront property. And all of those things are going to take time. It's not to say that we're buying a piece of property today and we're just jumping into something. It's to say that we're taking a first step. That's my thoughts.
Does the lawyer have an answer to sale at this price is absolutely as is? What does that mean to you? Can you?
So what that would mean to me, Mr. Dockett, would be that at the end of the transaction, the question is whether the property is going to come with any sort of warranties as to the condition of the property, or whether you're taking as is. I don't think that it has anything to do with the amount of due diligence that would be permitted.
So it's nothing to do with title insurance, nothing to, I've been here for 70 years. There's Dress Head. There's 2 gas stations were there. When I was a young child, there was a cleaners there, so I think the environmental thing is fairly important. So that's what worried me when I read this. And like I said, I don't know, do we approach them with these title insurance, or do we just go ahead and pay for it ourselves? That's my question.
So I'll say this. I don't think that in all the time I've been working with Paul Burns, and I don't think in any of the time before that Paul's ever done a transaction without title insurance, without the ability to get an environmental, whether the township decides to do that or not, at least having protected the ability to get one if the township desires to, the ability to obtain a survey. To your point, Mr. Dockett, there's a question as to who pays for all those things, but certainly any purchase agreement that I'm going to recommend to the board is going to have the ability to get those things in it. I wouldn't be recommending it otherwise.
Well, that's what we want. We want our attorney to recommend to us. We don't want them that are selling the property to recommend to us. That's what I want anyway.
Any other comments? So Brad, I know you guys got it all taken care of, and I understand exactly what they're saying in the email, and it is standard that the seller pays for the title insurance policy, and you are correct on your as is.
But it's so cheap.
Well, and you have to be careful when saying it's a $2 million property. It's not. No one bought it for $2 million, so that is a pie in the sky number that no one paid, and buyers end up saying it's setting the value.
I will say, for what it's worth, every once in a while on substantial sized commercial or industrial type transactions, you do see the buyer paying for title insurance to make sure they get the title company that they want and they feel like they can trust, as opposed to having the seller buy a title company, a title policy, and not feeling comfortable with it. So
I would feel more comfortable unless we're comfortable with the title insurance company, that we end up paying for the title insurance on this transaction.
You can just specify where it goes to, and there's only 3 major carriers, so. I don't have anyone else. Anything else? Nope. I'm in favor still. I like all of it. I have no problems. Do you need a vote on this evening?
We absolutely do.
Okay.
We don't have authority today. We have authority on the prices. The prices are what the board already authorized, but we do not have authority on tie barring the two together. So essentially, last time we had 2 purchase agreements. Moving forward, we will have 1 purchase agreement, and it will be for the full amount, and we will either close on the 1 purchase agreement or we will not close on the 1 purchase agreement.
Howard, on 3/30/16, I'm not picking about it. It says, actually the entire Van Curler piece of property absent the houses can be had for $325,000. That was an email from you. Now it's up to $329,500, which I'm not complaining about, but I'm wondering why did we get this email saying that it was the all of it except for the houses?
I don't remember, Mr. Dockett. Maybe I didn't add correctly.
Oh, okay, but that's what the email said.
I know, but
Okay.
earlier today you also accused me of something that was also wrong and inappropriate. So maybe my math was incorrect.
What did I accuse you of, Howard?
Nothing, Mr. Dockett.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I said 325.
Well, that's what's in there.
I
That's what I was
apologize.
asking you.
It was
Yeah.
123,000 plus 229,500. I apologize for the math being wrong.
Well, this was on 330.
Again, Mr. Dockett,
Well,
I don't know
just-
why I was $5,000 off. We made an offer at 80,000. We made an offer at 97,000, and then then they came back and said 100, and I said all I got is to 100,000, and I can't go any higher. And that's where we're at. And to be honest, I'm surprised that they're letting the 8-acre piece go for less than list anyway. And I think it's probably because the township is purchasing it.
Save that for the tax tribunal, Howard.
I totally understand, and I'm not even sure that this classifies as an arm's length transaction.
Well, it sure is.
This may not
That's what
classify
it's
as an
listed
arm's length
for.
transaction.
That's what it's listed. Anybody could buy it for that price.
Because originally, the word came back, full price offers on both or nothing. So, anyway, with that said, that's what's in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve, to authorize Howard and Paul Burns' office to move forward with the purchase of the 8.2 acre parcel and the 15 acre parcel known as the Van Curler property for the total price of $329,500, contingent on either a 60 to 90 day due diligence period to include survey of the property, acceptable environmental studies, and that title insurance will be supplied at the closing, to be paid by seller or buyer, that to be determined in the future, and both parcels to close at the same time.
Seller or buyer, and that to be determined in the future. Thank you.
But Howard just said 90
And
days.
deposit. And a deposit of $3,500.
And a total deposit of $3,500.
And Howard said 90 days. Now you're changing it from 60.
Just because we don't have to have another special meeting, if for some reason they came back and said, hey, we only want a 70-day due diligence, that they can authorize it without having to do it. 60, you can get your survey and your due diligence, your environmental studies. I'm just leaving it a little wiggle room for them to negotiate.
What?
She said 6290.
I understand that, but 90 days is what we talked about last time.
And if it had to go 60 and we're not happy with what we found, or we don't think it's the right move, we can back out of the purchase agreement. So I have a motion on the table. Thank you. Engstrom motioned and
Roll call.
and Braun supported. Roll call vote. Westover?
Yes.
Engstrom, yes. Dockett?
No, we don't need the dirt.
Braun? Thank you. Motion passes. All right, and then we also had some other property to talk about under our agenda item, and that would be, Howard, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can briefly mention it. We've got 15 minutes. So Miss Darlene Curtis called us up and indicated that if we would take the responsibility of demolition of one of her houses that she owns right next to the existing property that we purchased from her, that she would give us the property for free. Mr. Wagner and I went in there. We would not use, at least this was what Mr. Wagner initially indicated, is he would not use it for any training facilities for a fire department type of a situation. There's a lot of issues in that property that would be very difficult. So I'll just leave it at that. So my intention was to go get quotes to see how much it would cost to demo it, and then you all can make the decision if it's something that you wanted to move forward with. I venture to guess demolition these days is probably about $10,000 a house. Is that about right, Marilyn?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
I see no reason to wait. I would vote to go ahead with that. I mean, why would we not do it? But I guess we'll have to have title insurance, so on and so forth. Is that correct? Which we will pay for.
It's up to you guys.
I don't like.
I'm not completely. I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on this one way or another. I think it could be of great value to us in the long run, and I also think that the demolition cost could be significant, and that's why I wanted to try to understand what the demolition costs were before we move forward. Darlene is not putting it on the market. Obviously, she's offering it for free. There's very little, if no value there.
Yeah, time is not of the essence.
She said she would give us, she indicated she'd give us a few weeks to sort of understand it.
But we have to get title insurance. We can't take it without having title insurance. You don't do that in real estate, folks. You're in the business. You ought to know that we.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay, all right.
Almost like don't even.
So we don't. I mean, I for one say go ahead. But if the rest of the people want to wait, then they'll go.
I'd like to wait just to see your cost. You need to make sure there's no asbestos or hazardous materials that would bump that haul away cost up significantly.
Because I walked in there and I didn't see any evidence of asbestos, but I saw evidence of other stuff that the demolition company may have a concern with. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's a critical time, sensitive. I don't think it's a critical time sensitive issue like the Van Curler property here. But while we're talking about it, well, I can save it for board member comments is where it should be. Do you have anything else to add to that, or Wayne? And okay. And Janet, I don't know if you heard and if you saw the email yet that Darlene Curtis would like to give the house next door to the one that we. Okay, that's what we were just finishing up. Okay. Anyone else? All right. This takes us to the second call to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
David Gordon, Helena Road. The only question I had is that you authorized the purchase of the property, I believe. Or did you just authorize making the offer? If they said yes, have you agreed to buy it?
I would have voted yes.
So that was my question, because I'm a little confused about that. And I brought up the idea of possibly, having more public participation. Mr. Dockett seconded that, but I didn't hear anything from anybody else about getting more public involvement here. So I don't know if that's the wish of the board or not, or whether just to move forward. But in 2 18-hour notice meetings, to decide to spend $330,000, what happens if you get the public involved and have a whole bunch of people come up here and say, well, we don't think this is smart? Are you committed to doing it anyway? Because if the title works out and all the rest of the things work out, are you still committed to doing it? That's my question, because I would think that would be not an especially good process. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Randy Rush, Main Street again. Public input, 6 years on the Parks and Recreation Commission. During that time, we've surveyed the public, I think, 3 times. And every time we've done that, a lakeside park has been either the number one or in the top couple of things that they wanted. So we've had a lot of public input to get to this point. And, if we keep letting people say they don't want to make progress, we're going to never make any. So I encourage you to forge ahead and let's see what we can come up with.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Okay. Board member comments. Anything down here? No? I have one thing. You did say at the last meeting we don't upkeep our properties very well, like the Darlene Curtis property and 75 Barker Road. And Wayne, I have to agree with you. I have talked, brought it up before, and I think that Bill Wagner really needs to get going on finishing up the Darlene Curtis property that we do currently own. It is becoming an eyesore in the community.
Okay, we will make it a priority. I will talk with Bill.
And we won't give him any authority on the second house that she's going to give us. He can't go.
Right, yeah, I'm glad to hear that he doesn't want to trash it all up and leave it for 2 years.
And I will take some of the blame for that as well, because he's asked me, and I know that he has indicated that it is a valuable training tool for him, and I've said, you know what, Bill, if it keeps being a valuable training tool, to keep using it. So, Madam Supervisor, I will also take some of the responsibility and blame with that, but I hear it loud and clear, and we'll start moving on that.
We're trying to get moving on our blight problem, and I think we are
overdue.
One of the offenders.
Yes.
All right.
I have.
Thank you, Wayne, for bringing that up. I've been thinking about it for a week.
Next thing we got to do is the potholes at 75 Barker.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The parking lot and the paint's falling out of it.
Yep. Well, I think that. Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
Actually, speaking of 75 Barker, there are some improvements that are coming up on 75 Barker that we're currently working on. But the last thing I had is there's not a lot on the agenda for this Tuesday. There are a number of civic event permits. There's the issue with the road commission stuff. We don't need a meeting for this Tuesday. Absent one potential item from the Planning Commission, which I can talk to Ken about tonight, absent the conversation with Mr. Dignan on a Planning Commission item, is there any objection to canceling this upcoming meeting? And then the next workshop will have some voting items on the next workshop.
I would say yes, except for Bill Wagner was supposed to tell us about the federal policeman that we have, and he said he would do it at the next meeting. But I would have no problem with waiting till the next meeting for that.
I think that there's
he was going to give us a report on the DEA thing.
There is resolution to that. Yeah. I will not steal his thunder. I will wait, and he can give that update to you. He maybe can send that to everyone in an email.
I got a copy of it, so that's why I'm saying that's the only thing that I was looking forward to on this Tuesday night meeting, but I have nothing.
Kathy, did you have something? Nope. Okay.
So are we canceling officially then?
Not 100% official. I'd like to speak with Ken before the official cancellation.
But you will let us know officially?
I will let you know tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for your input this evening.
Did you get a second?